Hello and welcome to the Daddy of Them All podcast, where we celebrate the people, places, and traditions that make Cheyenne Frontier Days more than just a rodeo. It's a way of life. I'm your host, Tara Vreeland, and we're giving you a first look at the 2026 Cheyenne Frontier Days celebration, one of the biggest ever. This milestone year will honor America's 250th anniversary with Day of the American West, the Year of the American Indian, and the grand opening of the Morning Star American Indian Village, all alongside the world's best rodeo action and chart-topping Frontier Nights concerts.
A part of Western history, a legend walking tall. Cheyenne Frontier Days, the daddy of them all.
I'm joined now by Carly Dibble, booking agent under Romeo Entertainment Group, the team that brings the stars to Frontier Nights. Hey, Carly, you are joining us from Nashville, which is Music City and the heart of country music. Now, you're a part of the team that makes Frontier Nights possible, and I know it's a massive undertaking. What goes into finding and booking the artists who will take the stage?
There's a lot. And like you said, I'm just part of a big team that works on this as a whole. There are at least 10 other people in my office, and we're constantly, because this is such a big event and you guys book huge artists that need a huge crowd to be there. We're constantly talking about what the best options could be. And I know we've really focused this year on kind of getting a new audience, keeping it young and fresh, and getting new people that have never been to Cheyenne before coming to town to check out what we've got going on.
How far in advance do you start planning? Are you a couple years out? Does it depend on touring schedules? What goes into it?
Yeah, it definitely depends on touring schedules. You know, you don't want to put something in too early, but you also don't want to be too late. I always go with the answer, it depends. Some artists are more tour heavy. Some artists, talking about some that we have coming up, so Red Clay Strays, they'll have a whole tour, and we've luckily been built into that tour now. And so getting ahead of those to make sure that we can snag those bigger artists before they're going to play the arenas or stadiums, or even our opening acts before they're going to play the amphitheaters or other fairs, festivals that, you know, would be on our same dates, and just getting ahead of that. We've already got some 2027 stuff rolling, which feels crazy to say because we're not even to December, of this year. But it's definitely far in advance, but not too far.
That's great. And I know that you put a lot of thought into who comes to Cheyenne Frontier Days, and it is a legendary stage. A lot of people know about it, but then there's artists in different genres that may not know about it. But I know you look for a variety. We've had, Machine Gun Kelly here. We've had Post Malone, Kiss, Aerosmith, Stained, Three Doors Down, more than just country. And then we've also had years where it's been just a country lineup. What do you have for us this year that is a little bit for everybody?
I actually, so far what we have announced, it is, if you look at the grand scheme of things, it's a lot of country, but I feel like country is such an umbrella now, where you have the Trace Adkins, which is iconic, classic country at this point. You have the Zach Top that he just went crazy. Red Clay Strays, it's going to lean more of like the indie, pop rock, like very almost Elvis. If you've ever seen them, a lot of people compare the lead singer to Elvis, which is really cool. And then you have a Treaty Oak Revival that's very Texas Southern rock, but still technically country, and a Jesse Murph who has collabs with, I swear, every artist under the sun at this point, but some of those including a Gucci Mane and Lil Baby, like really getting into the hip hop world. But again, still country.
Yeah, and there's something for everybody. And, we kind of have that demographic. If you have people come up from Denver, you have people coming from Nebraska, Kansas, again, Colorado, Wyoming. And people's music, it varies in what they like. I saw Red Clay Strays open a few years ago, and they were fantastic. So I bet they were thrilled to come back, knowing the energy and the vibe. So what do you think brings people back here to Frontier Days year after year?
I think it's one of those plays, and, artists typically look at these things and they think rodeo, dirt, it's not glamorous. And that's not the case. People, once they get there, it's similar to some of our other events where it's not an arena. People are not paying that premium price. And, the artist is not going to be sitting in a room all day. They have activities to go do. It's them being able to connect with the fans, and it's not the fans in New York City or LA where it's real fans that are listening to them just as much as they do in those bigger markets. So I think that it's exciting once they can get in front of a crowd that's this size and they're just there for them.
Mhm. I love that. And then you also talk about, the ticket prices. Like their things are more affordable here. There's more things they can do. It's family friendly. You can go to a rock show, a rap show, or a country show, and then go ride the merry-go-round or the Ferris wheel. So, what about the opening acts? Do you have some people that specifically go from being an opening act to wanting to be a headliner, or do they approach you ever?
They do. I mean, especially in the country world where you have a lot of these artists that came from rodeo or, just traveling around for that stuff in general, or they came from, the tiny rodeos and fairs where they were making $5,000 a show. This is an iconic play for them. And so many of them that are openers, they are begging to come back and they want to be that big where they're the ones selling 20 plus thousand tickets and all of the fans are then there for them, which is, I mean, I would love that personally.
Yeah.
Like it's got to be just a cool moment.
Yeah, and years ago, Taylor Swift opened, and now look at her.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Zach Bryan, I mean,
yep,
yeah.
him too, and then Red Clay Strays, and I know Jelly Roll was an opener, and then he headlined, and, you kinda it's neat to see them go from being openers to being a headliner and seeing the crowds welcome them back, and then they know what to expect when they come to Frontier
Right.
Park.
Yep.
How do you feel about, Riley Green and some of these newer artists that are kind of having this revival of old school country music?
I love it. And I always go back to, we talk about streaming and how that's so important. And we like really pay attention to that right now. I always see comments on Facebook, which, you hate to look at it, but there's always those comments of there's no real country anymore. And all I'm hearing is pop country and all of this. But if anyone truly digs in, country's alive and well. I mean, Zach Top, obviously, just like you said, Riley Green, that's country. I mean, through and through. There's no way around that.
Yeah, and I actually talked to Zach Top, last year, and I said, "We were hoping to see you in Cheyenne," and he said, "Well, this tour with Dierks Bentley came up, but it's on my bucket list." So I think you probably hear that over and over, that Cheyenne is a place that people wanna perform. Ian Munsick was just here, and he said, "Everybody at Red Rocks, next up is Cheyenne. I want a headline." So is that something you get as well?
Yeah, definitely. And it's awesome to hear the artists say that. And then the next step from there on our side of things is making sure that the manager and, the booking agent hear that as well. So whenever we get artists like that, it definitely helps whenever we're all on board and on the same page.
I also think it's really fun when you may not necessarily be a fan of a musician, but it happens to be the night you're in Cheyenne, and then you go to the show, and then you become a fan of that artist, and I'll use Machine Gun Kelly as that
Yes.
example for me. I wasn't familiar with his music, but going to the show, I became a new fan, because of the energy he brought to the stage, and I think that works both ways for both the artist knowing that they can come to this venue as well as, those of us who are listening to the music.
Yeah, I completely agree. And honestly, that's one of my favorite parts of my job in general. And because this stuff is changing so quickly, and like you said, the artists are coming up so quickly, they're coming up differently. You can book the George Strait, and then you can also book a Zach Top the next day. And the person that's going to go see George Strait, they might not have ever heard of Zach Top, but whenever they see them, they're leaving a fan, and that means that we did our job.
Okay. So what are you most looking forward to next year for the 2026?
This is my first year, I would say, truly working this close with you guys. I've always been a part of the team, but I've gotten lucky this year in working directly with Bob and your team. So for you guys to trust me, for my bosses to trust me, I'm just excited to be there. And hopefully every night sells out, has a huge crowd, and just to say that I had even a small role in that is wild to me.
Yeah, it takes a village, and thank you so much for all you do. And I know sometimes it goes the other direction too, like you were just saying. Some people tend to say, well, you didn't get this person, or it's all country, or it's this. And I know people think it's easy to get these acts, and it's not, because you talk about the
Yeah.
touring schedules. So I know you probably get disappointed too when some things fall through or some things don't line up. You know, how would you talk to people who kind of think that you can just get any type of act, or that you're trying to spread the variety out?
Yeah, I think that every year, I mean, trends change. So there's one thing to look at. And, not to get too specific, but prices change. So, people are going to ask for the the icons. I mean, and those because we're getting older, they're also getting older. They're touring less. Their prices are going up. And to keep them happy, healthy, it it takes a lot, and a lot of them don't want to go out. Or if you get, one of the iconic rock bands, well, then you have some people that are not happy because some of the members are there, some of the members are not. So it really just depends. It depends on the year. And, some of these older artists, they might take 3 years off and then all of a sudden come back and say, hey, we want to play. That's when, us talking to the agents is just more important so that we can get in on that if that happens and when that happens.
Do you have a wish list already going for the following years?
Oh, there's always a wish list.
The lineup for 2026 is huge, and I know it's a massive undertaking to start the planning process. Walk me through step by step what that looks like. It's not like you just call up George Strait and say, hey, do you want to play Cheyenne? What does that look like on your day to day?
I wish that that's what it looked like. There's a lot of people involved, especially as artists get bigger. There are some artists that they probably have not even seen the offer or the contract because they have so many people on their team, ever, honestly. They might see it the day before, day of, but they might not ever see any of that stuff going on because they have such big teams. So what we do is we work with the client, so Cheyenne, and we kind of gather pretty much a wish list of, hey, these artists would be great here. So we decide on an artist, we would submit an offer. That offer goes to an agent, and then usually that agent, there are other agents involved, so they will do some talking. If it's a no, if, the artist already has a tour or something, conflicting where they just know that it's a no right off the bat, then we'll move on. If it's a maybe, then there's the business manager, the day-to-day manager, a lot of different people, like I said, that will look over everything, see if it's viable, and then ideally, in a couple weeks, sometimes sooner, sometimes longer, we get that done and then get it locked in and start the marketing process with you guys.
That's wonderful. And you've definitely locked in a pretty solid lineup so far. So for 2026, and I know you're still working on a few others, so we don't want to give away those spoilers. But what can you tell us about the lineup for next year?
Yes. So Friday we have Treaty Oak Revival with Jesse Murph. Super fun package. We're really excited about it. If you've not heard of them, because yes, they are newer, definitely check them out. Treaty Oak, actually, I think by the time this drops, we'll have a whole new album out too. So that's exciting. We're still working on Saturday. So Sunday is Red Clay Strays with Wyatt Flores. Wyatt Flores last year did a lot of the Post Malone tour, and they've become really great friends. Post Malone has become a big supporter of Wyatt, and I think that they've done some writing together. So he should also have a new album out before Cheyenne next year, which is also exciting. The Wednesday night is Riley Green and Trace Adkins. Again, country. I mean, that's like just prime country right there. This year, I think, was the 20th year anniversary of Honky Tonk Badonky Donk.
20 years?
So I think it's in its prime.
Oh, shit. It was 20 years ago. Wow.
Thursday's to be announced as well. Friday, we have Hardy with Cameron Whitcomb. Again, on the openers, Hardy's an icon at this point. I mean, I always say like a little bit smaller Morgan Wallen, but his show, same thing, leans a little bit more rock. He's super fun. Cameron Whitcomb just released a new album. Get on TikTok, look at his shows. There are so many viral videos, and the energy that he brings to the stage is just crazy. Zach Top and Jody Messina will round us out on Saturday.
That sounds like a really killer lineup, in my opinion. So something for everybody. Carly, thank you so much for joining us. And there is nothing like a Wyoming night when those lights hit that stage. And we're looking forward to seeing you in Cheyenne. Thank you so much for being here.
A part of Western history, a legend walking tall. Cheyenne frontier days, the daddy